Today I'm going to be doing some maintenance slash repairs on my beloved slash barely used slash now I guess it's an antique Kurzweil K2000. I am in fact the original owner of this K2000, purchased it in the mid-90s, and over the years it's developed some dust, and some of the keys have gotten a little sticky, and some other keys which don't really seem to work particularly well. You have to press very hard on them. And so I'm gonna crack this open and clean it out. There's probably crumbs in there. I don't want to hear about it. I know. So we're gonna see what we can do with this. The other mitigating factor is that when I moved to California a while ago, I shipped this to myself and the case got damaged. So there is a large crack right along the disk drive here, and there's a little crack over here, which I don't remember if that's always been there or if my cat did that. So hopefully that doesn't become a lot worse when I open it up. I'm going to try to reinforce it once it's open, as long as it doesn't fall apart. But I guess I'm willing to accept the risk that something may go wrong in this process. But I guess you don't learn if you don't try and screw things up. Hopefully not screw things up. But first, let's go back to 1996 for a moment and revel in a little tech nostalgia. Yep, that's me. I found this photo in a box a few months ago and have become rather enamored with it because it shows a very specific snapshot of 90s technology. In the background, there's my K2000, same exact one. You can't really see it that well, but in front of me is a 4-track cassette recorder. There's the cassette on the desk. Next to that is what I think is a Macintosh Performa, though I don't remember the specific model, followed by a large stack of floppies. And perched on top of that is a very speedy 28.8 baud modem. Hack the planet indeed. Also of note is my 90s Bob, an X-Files poster just out of frame, and what I think is a homemade dress. So, goes to show that while time comes for us all, people don't really change that much over time. Deep, man. Deep. Because of the pre-existing damage to the case, and my concern that it might get worse when opening it, I taped over the cracks with some gaffer tape. It ended up not being a problem, but it was also nice to have it there when I later epoxied the underside of those cracks. What I didn't realize until I opened this up is that the electronics are attached to the top, which also means getting at those top buttons near the screen would require me to remove the giant board in there. And while I've built a few computers in my day, I really didn't want to do this now. So maybe next time. And here's a quick look inside. Take note at the location of those ribbon cables, because we're going to be removing those next. Now you're going to notice that stray ribbon cable at the top right. Ignore it. I got a little removal happy. Don't remove that one. You just want to remove the two that are threaded through the foil openings at the bottom. And this, right underneath the floppy drive, is the Aftertouch connector. That also needs to be removed. And you can see where it's going to get pulled through in a minute. And you got a lot of screws to remove. Just keep removing screws. Just carefully lift it up and thread all of those ribbon cables through as best you can. And the keyboard is just going to release itself upside down there. I also found another piece in there that had broken off, so that also later gets glued on. Each key is attached to a spring, so those need to be removed first. As you can see, a lot of them have already been stretched out of place, and I found it was pretty easy to stretch them more upon removal. I don't know if that's age-related, but be as careful as possible with this step. But if anyone knows if it's possible to re-spring a spring, comment below. Even more fiddly are the plastic tabs that lock the keys into place. You need to insert a flathead screwdriver and very carefully push it back. It's very easy to break these off, even if you're being careful and taking your time. And yikes! It's dirty enough under those keys that I literally blurred the footage. Trust me, I'm doing everyone a favor. Well, I only broke the tabs on 3 of these, and there's a spring that popped off somewhere around here that now I gotta go find. But those seem like things for future Kristen. She already doesn't like me, so might as well just add on to the list. What's a couple more things? I'm just lightly washing the keys and contact strips with some soap and water. You'll see in a minute, but the reason why some of my keys were sticking is because the rubber encasing the Aftertouch strip literally melted onto some of the keys and left behind big chunks of missing rubber. I couldn't decide the best route to go in terms of repair, so I just cleaned everything with alcohol as best as I could and left it as is. Best case, I find a reasonably priced part to completely replace it, but more research is needed to see if there's an alternative. I also find it interesting that it looks like the metal has rust spots because, trust me, I do not have the dollars to live oceanside in California. Remember a while back when I said to keep track of the orientation of your contact strips? Did you? Did you? Because I certainly didn't. I reattached nearly all of them, and it wasn't until I got to the end that I realized something was off. When you look underneath, you can see that one of the buttons is slightly longer than the other. I have no idea if this actually does anything, but I didn't want to chance putting it in the wrong way. You can also see the orientation from the top. There's some text on each strip, as well as a very small raised dot that can help keep track. Take a photo before you remove these and you'll thank yourself later. I designed and 3D printed a nearly microscopic object that was glued into the also very tiny space between the wall there and against the clip. The idea was that instead of attempting to glue just the bottom of the broken clip, I'd also glue it just a few millimeters along the side for added reinforcement. I started off snapping the first few keys into place before I realized it was probably smarter to rest them there while I made sure everything lined up. If you lose track, it also helps to notice on the side, the black keys have one nub sticking out, don't know what you'd call that, and the white have two. I marked the keys that I repaired the tabs on so I could tell if they failed upon installation. But success! The tabs shockingly held up. And yes, I'm still missing a spring. Future Kristen can still go looking for that. The big crack next to the floppy drive, unfortunately, isn't completely accessible without removing the entire circuit board. So I decided to just do the best I could for the time being. If I go back in for more repairs later, I can always finish the job. Since the board and the drive are screwed into the case, I think that alone is what helped prevent the crack from worsening over time. And this is the part where I complain about how much I dislike epoxy. I've never figured out why they don't just give you separate tubes, because I've rarely had one dispense equal amounts on both sides. So far, my favorite glue for PLA and acrylics is Weldon 16. No mixing, and the bond is very strong. I purchased a small sheet of ABS plastic and cut a few tiny pieces to use for reinforcement. It looks like the inside might be powder coated, so I was unsure if I'd have a problem gluing anything to it, but once dry I didn't notice any problems. Only time will tell. Found it! And by found it, I mean I had to go online and find someone selling used parts and buy more springs. I got a few extras for next time, but a week later, after this has been splayed out in the middle of my living room, I can finally get back to reassembly. Gotta love how these projects go sometimes.
The other thing that melted were the feet. So I spent some time scraping off and cleaning them as best as I could, and used these simple bumper pads I found in my local hardware store. They're a surprisingly good fit. Last but not least, the outside of that case needed extensive cleaning. I literally spent several hours scrubbing all the nooks and crannies using electronics screen cleaner that I just had lying around, pointed Q-tips, and toothpicks. Even after all that, it still could use another once-over, so let that be a reminder to cover your electronics when not in use. This was a very tedious process. All right, well, me and my shadow here that I'm too lazy to fix have detailed this as much as possible. It looks a lot better. You know, there's still some big cracks, but they have been patched. I could do some cosmetic stuff later, maybe. But now I gotta see if I screwed something up. Let's boot this baby up. I hear a fan. Oop. Oh, yep, it's booting. It's just it's a very dim screen. Let's take a look. What does it say? Initializing. Yes, it boots. All right, we're gonna see if there's actual sound that comes from this now. Let's see if I can. Let's give this a try. Let's see if I don't know if my outputs are. Let's get some headphones. Headphones. Oh. There we go. Oh my God. Uh-oh. So we have a dead key here. Oh wait. What's happening with that? Oh, there we go. All right, let's see. Something that... You can see the felt didn't get quite pulled up enough here. So I'm gonna see, you can see a little bit of it here if I can pull it up so you can kind of see that, because otherwise it's gonna stay that way until the next time this gets opened up. One thing I didn't really do is these keys, I didn't want to fix them because it was gonna be too much work, but this button is really hard to press. Channel one. Oop. There we go. What other silly sounds have we got here? Yeah. And there you have it, my newly detailed and cleaned K2000. I didn't break it, so that's always a bonus. Like to walk away with a working synthesizer when you're done cleaning it. It does still need some repairs, and you know, this thing is going to continue to deteriorate in some ways because it's old. But it's good enough. It's good enough. Normally, at the ends of these videos, if you've seen anything else I've done, I tend to do some sort of silly music video adjacent kind of stuff. But I'm going to reserve that for a different video just because this took way longer while I was waiting for parts and some other apartment repair stuff happened, and then I had to celebrate my cat's birthday, of course, because that's very important. So yeah, so that should be coming later. And if it doesn't, that just means whatever I wrote was so bad that I just couldn't bear releasing it to the public. And I think it's a low bar right now, so think about that. Think about it. 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 No, but really, what am I even saying there?